Hi, beautiful. Welcome back to the Becoming series. My name is Zanele and I am the founder and director of We Are Becoming. We Are Becoming is an initiative centered around encouraging and empowering women to become the most confident, vibrant, and unique version of themselves. Today's guest is a true finance fanatic. She is a financial planner for BDO Wealth Advisors in South Africa, as well as a freelance columnist for the Sowetan. She has been featured on both Business Day TV and CNBC Africa, talking about finance and economics. When she's not helping people with financial advice, she likes to dabble in a bit of poetry. She's also a radio personality for Wits Radio's Business Buzz show. Join us in welcoming the incredible Zanele Kunene to the Becoming series. Hi,
Good morning.
Zanele. Welcome to the Becoming series. Thank you so much for joining us. How are you doing today?
A little less anxious, but I'm good. I'm good overall. I'm good overall.
Okay, what was making you anxious?
I think that the whole virus,
Mm-hmm.
it's starting to work on me, to be quite honest, because all the jobs that are getting lost, the more people are getting infected, and plus we don't have more information as to um, what they call the second wave. And we are still part of this first wave of infection. So it's kind of like, when are we going to get to the second wave so at least a bit more normalcy can come back? So
Yeah,
that's been playing on my head quite a lot.
I definitely relate. It's kind of like this unending cycle, and we are stuck. It's like sink or swim, adapt or
Basically.
so. Yeah, it's a weird time. It's a really weird time. I really
It
get that
is.
anxiety. But yeah, thank you so much for being willing to have this interview with us. Today we are going to be discussing all things money, money, money. Something that is very important and I guess essential for all of us to learn how to manage. And a lot of us struggle with that. So thank you for availing yourself. I
Anytime.
guess we can start with the first question. The first question is, what is financial mastery and what does financial mastery look like at different levels or different tax brackets?
So financial mastery, since I've worked at BDO, and I've been in this company for about 4 years, and I think one of the fundamentals of financial mastery is long-term vision. Like that is a big contributor, because if you could have a long-term vision, that will make sure you are committed, no matter the ups or downs, because the markets do go up and they do go down, but when you have a long-term vision, you don't emotionally react. You don't say, oh, because now this is what's happening, now I need to back away. You know how to respond. You don't lead your decisions emotionally.
Yeah.
So I think in order to have financial mastery, it's but it definitely is having a long-term vision. And another thing I've come to realize is that our priorities are so linked to our values.
Yeah.
And because now we live in a social media kind of an environment, our priorities are quite skewed.
Yeah.
It's like, I want to have this because that person has this. So we've
Right.
really screwed up our priorities.
Yeah.
So if we can go back to the fundamentals, outlining what is important to you as Anisu, what do you want? And once you've outlined that, you're able to keep to that and not, keep on looking at what the Joneses are doing.
Yeah.
You build your own kind of empire.
Okay. Okay. I get that. So, um, I guess you did answer that question of what financial mastery looks like at different levels. So essentially it's the same, having a long-term vision with whatever level of income that you have.
Yes.
Okay.
Okay.
And just to add on to the different levels, I always get people saying, I don't earn too much, so what must I do? And then you also find people that are earning a lot of money that also don't know what to do. Because the principle is, if you have a long-term vision, it means you have the habit, you've built in the habit of saving.
Right.
And that's what is missing with a lot of people. It doesn't matter how much you are earning or where you stand on your income. It's about the habits that you're building. You reap what you sow, and there is no quick fix.
Yeah.
Okay, I know directors who are looking for quick fixes. I know people who have no jobs are looking for quick fixes. There is no quick fix. It's, little by little, just building the habit of saving, of putting money away. And I use the word saving very loosely, but saving is not just putting money in the bank or putting money anywhere. It's also about, I'm putting this away for this purpose. I've met people who saying, I'm saving, and then the exact same savings account is for emergency as well. So it's like, you can't have savings and emergency mean the same thing in the same account. You have to split those.
Ooh.
Are
Yeah.
you saving for an emergency, or are you saving for a car, a home in the next 10 years? What,
Yeah.
name it.
Yeah.
Once you name it, you are able to then, stick to what you want to do.
Love it. Love it. Love it. I think I've made that mistake multiple times. I'm like, I'm saving, but it's like my emergency. Like,
You see, so,
even
it just doesn't create the borders. It doesn't create the boundaries. So create the boundaries, guys. The boundaries are important, so that non-negotiables we stick to.
true, true, true. Love that. And that actually falls into the next question. How do you separate financial needs from wants? And how does one
Ooh.
understand good saving and spending habits? So jam-packed question.
That's a very heavy question, because I think it's such a personal one, because you can't tell someone you don't need this or you can't want this.
Yeah.
But the way I've differentiated it for myself in quite a few of my the interactions that I've had with clients is that your needs are your non-negotiables. Your needs are aligned to your values. So we go to the Maslow's hierarchy. Security, safety, food, your basics. Your needs are your basics. Your wants are more ego driven. So if you could think of a jacket, it's winter, I need to buy a jacket. That's a need. But if you want to buy a particular jacket because of a brand, that's a want, because you don't want the actual necessity of the jacket. You want the brand of the jacket.
The jackets. Yeah.
It's more ego driven. So that's how I differentiate between my needs and my wants. I know my wants are all about my ego, and my needs are my fundamentals. Are this: if I don't pay my rent, I will be homeless, and I do not want to be homeless. I want to tell Oprah a story, but not that story. Not that story.
I know that. I love how you referred to Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Very good. Very, very good. What do you think are the most common mistakes that women make, or people even in general make, when it comes to managing their finances?
Women, we have problems, guys. We have problems. And I actually listed the problems that we have. The first one is that we do save. Well done to us. We are savers, because every woman has been told you must have a pocket that is yours. You don't tell husband, you don't tell anybody, this is your money. But the problem is the vehicles that we use.
Okay.
So we are saving, but we are using incorrect vehicles. So you'll find a single mother who's saying, I'm saving for my child's future, but they're putting money in a bank. And the bank doesn't offer good interest rates. And if you think about the child, let's say the child is 10 years old.
Yeah.
From 10 to the age of 18 or 21, it means that this mother has got at least 11 years to save up for varsity fees, but she's using a bank to do so. And banks are not going to give you the kind of interest to meet that expected need. So the problem is the vehicles we use when we are saving, which is an issue. The
Yeah.
second issue that we also have is that we're not open. We don't have conversations with people. We feel
Mm,
very intimidated to do so. Like, oh, I'm embarrassed. What if, I'm asking the wrong thing?
yeah.
What if I've made a mistake? It's okay if you make a mistake, laugh at yourself and move on. And that comes to the second problem that we have as women. Our recovery period is so long.
Yeah.
So for example, let's say I buy shares in a company and this company flops. Instead of me saying, oh, okay, bad decision, let me
Yeah.
get an advisor, let me fix this, we rather sit in this pity party. Oh, I made a bad mistake. And then we come back 3 years later, like, okay, let me try again.
Mm,
We need to shorten our recovery period. Okay,
mhm.
you've made a mistake, we all do. Come back at it, get an advisor, do more research, and get back into the game.
So, so,
Don't sit in that pity, don't sit
yeah.
in that story.
Yeah.
That those are the two biggest issues that I've realized that we as women have. It's our recovery period and the vehicles that we are using,
Uh,
which don't meet our needs.
what do
And
you?
also risk as
Mm,
well. We're not risk takers as well.
mm,
And we should be more open to risk, be more open to taking opportunities, but also do that using informed material, like using an advisor or information. Don't just be sporadic about your decisions, but
okay.
take risk, be open to it.
Uh,
That's how you make money work for you.
so good. So good. What do you think causes like this shame around money? Like, why do we feel so uncomfortable talking about it? Or even just asking the relevant questions? What do you think that's about?
So I was speaking to one of my friends about this, and he was saying, it's quite weird that we expect to speak about money with our families when we ourselves are unable to speak about money at work.
Yeah.
I can't ask my colleague how much my colleague is earning. So
Yeah.
if I can't have that conversation with my colleague, I'm not, or in my workplace, it's quite hard to negotiate your income or salary because we don't
Mm,
know how to have that conversation. But
mm,
then I must go home and be like, guys, this is how much I'm earning. But I'm not comfortable having that money conversation.
mm.
So how are we expecting people who can't speak about this at work to go home and to speak about it with their families?
Yeah.
And also it also opens the whole idea of my worth and my identity.
Mm,
So if I'm not earning a lot of money, it, they might tie that to my identity, to
yeah.
my self-worth. They might
Yeah.
look down on me. They might, judge me for that. And that should not be the case, especially in our families, because I feel like in South Africa, we really need to strengthen households. And if we can strengthen our households, we
Love
can be able to really get a really good, what you call it, a good system. We could get really great businesses, great organizations, because if we have these conversations within the household, can you imagine how that could ripple into the workspaces,
it.
into business, into the schools? It's all about just fixing the household,
Yeah.
and having that conversation there.
Love it. Love it. Love it. Thank you so much for that. I think you are right. The link between our self-worth and our identity and money, it's crazy how
Mm.
that in itself, how we feel or how we value ourselves, like pours into multiple areas of our lives, and yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
What were one or two of the biggest money mistakes you made, and how did you overcome
Um, my biggest money mistake was mental accounting, especially when it comes to my friends. They'd say, let's go on a weekend or let's go away. And I would be like, oh, it's probably going to roughly cost me this much. But then we get to this, we get to this house that we've rented out, and now there are other expenses, there are other activities we have to do, and you don't want to feel left out. So you end up, partaking in that.
all of
So
that?
I found that my biggest mistake was not actually looking at my financial situation and actually outlining all the costs that could be involved, and not just being like, oh, we're just going clubbing, because we might go clubbing and then go to a different club and then go somewhere else and then go somewhere else. But I didn't think of those costs because I was mental accounting. So I stay away from mental accounting. That was one of my biggest money eaters, which was
Okay.
mental
Okay.
accounting, and also not asking my mom about her financial situation. I think I assumed that because my mom's really strong, she's been taking care of all my sisters, and she's always been on the forefront.
Yeah.
And I failed to ask her as to what money problems do you have? Because although everything looks good, there must be something going on.
Yeah.
And I found out now during COVID-19 that there are other underlying issues. There are other people that she's also supporting that we did not know about. And now she can't support those people. Now
Yeah.
it's a question of, okay, let us step in.
Yeah.
So just find out, even if your parents look okay, or your friends look financially well, ask them, like, what do you have financial concerns? Let's talk about it. We could brainstorm a few ideas, and we could be more resourceful. Help is not just a 1 million rand check.
Yeah.
Help is networking. Help is,
So,
ideas. It is connecting people. So that's what I found was quite helpful for me.
oh, I love that. I love that. Um, as you said, yeah, in the season, a lot of people are being affected by everything that's going on, and a lot of people have lost their jobs. And I wanted to find out, I know this is not as like part of our questions, but I wanted to find out, what advice do you have for people that have just been retrenched? How
Mm.
where do they start? Yeah.
It always starts on the basics. What is your budget? What does your budget say? And I know I say budget, and people are like, really? I don't need to hear this again. But I'm telling you, your budget is going to make sure you make a profit.
Mm.
Like, each and every one of us are a business. And if you don't have a budget, you don't know if you're making a profit or not. So you are basically you're a flopping business. Imagine a business that doesn't make a profit. Is it going to last long?
Yeah.
No. So
Yeah.
you have to have a comprehensive budget. If you have um, debt or creditors, go and speak to those creditors and say, this is my situation right now.
Mm.
What payment plan can we have? And when you receive your retrenchment package, it's not for you to now renovate or buy cars or make yourself feel good. This is not feel good money. This is money that should carry you for the next 6 to 12 months
Yeah.
as you try to get back into the job market.
Definitely.
So if you have your budget all set out, fix it up with your creditors. And another thing that's super, super important is, if you are supporting people, include them in the conversation. Don't just assume that now they're going to understand that you don't have a job. Don't just assume that.
Yeah.
Sit down, speak to them, and say, I can commit to this much. I cannot commit to helping you with regard to 120. Share with them. So
Yeah.
if they have an expectation and you have an expectation that
Yeah.
you can commit to, because right now you don't want to be an island, you don't want to suffocate on your own.
Mhm.
Call on your community, speak to them. And I know people are saying it's hard to speak about money to my parents or to my people, but you have to do it.
Yes.
If you don't do it, you're going to be as financially ill as they are. So everyone is sinking. So rather you try to uplift yourself so that you can uplift them as well. And I'm very sorry to those who have been retrenched, but it's not being retrenched does not mean you're non-essential or you don't have the skills. It just means that you have to look for another space that's going to accept you. So go on with your skills, improve, keep on improving, keep on applying, and you will get another one. Or
Mm.
start your own. And that's another issue that I always stress upon: concentrated risk. You cannot only live on one income. You have to have more than one income, because once your job goes, what must happen? Must we now all just be like, oh, shame?
Yeah.
No, you have to look for other ways of getting an income. Do not have concentrated risk in anything, in investments, in income, in every. Just don't put all your eggs in one basket.
Mm. 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 So true. So true. Thank you so much for those tips. So we've got a few questions from the community on financial mastery, and I'm just going to run through each one of them. The first one is property a good investment like it was with the previous generation, or have things changed?
Property has always been a good investment. It's always been very popular. But when it comes to that, when it comes to property, you have to also think about investment risk. Can you take on the risk of property?
Yeah.
Because if you are saying this rental income is going to support your income forever, or it's going to form a big part of your income, then I don't think it's going to be a good idea. So it all goes upon your investment risk. So if you can take on that investment risk, then I do say put it part of your portfolio. But as I've said before, diversification is very important. So don't concentrate on having property as your source of income. Also look into other areas in which you can also include in your investment portfolio, because property is a good way to invest. It's proven to be so. But when economic crisis happens the way it's been happening now, it could be a bit shaky if you've only had that as your source of income, or that as your supplement income.
Okay. And this also links to the first question: what is the most advisable major investment as a graduate?
So as a graduate, so I didn't have the whole university experience with regard to the partying and the whole, life and stuff like that. I was quite sheltered. So I could, save money in the bank. So I didn't really need emergency savings, one could say. But when I'm speaking to quite a lot of my friends, they said that one of the biggest things that as a graduate, which is quite important, is having savings, because you're going to be applying for jobs. You're going to be if you're going to be applying for jobs, you have to go to interviews. You're going to need cash for transport and for all the clothes that you need, the professional clothes the attire that you need. So as a graduate, I do think that building a savings account, and this savings is for you to use on your day-to-day basis, and also to build an emergency savings, but little by little. So the emergency savings is not going to be like a big part of your saving, but you will need to start doing so just to get into the habit of putting money away.
Okay.
So I would say building a savings account, and also having a relationship with your bank as well. Because some people just open accounts and they've been having the same account that they've had since their parents opened it for them. Guys, go to the bank, speak to them, ask them about their products, what's gonna work for you, have the conversation, don't just be swiping. Hey, come on, man.
I was one of those actually, and I didn't pay attention to, like, these little things like swiping from the ATM that you bank with, or banking charges, whatever. I didn't pay attention to that until recently. Actually, I sat down and I went to the bank, and I went through when I was trying to open up a business account. I think that's when I really started taking things seriously. Sitting down, finding out, okay, what are the rates? What does this mean? Can you help me? But a lot of us fall into that trap. Our parents open the account for us, and then we sit, and it is what it is,
We sit, and the thing is, the bank account is not just about putting money in or taking money out. It can help you so much. You could get a business loan. You could, get more favorable rates if you're trying to get a car, you're trying to get a home. So at an early age, build a relationship with the bank. I was reading an article on Forbes, and it was saying one thing what wealthy people teach their kids is they teach their kids to ask questions to the dentist, to whomever they send them to, not to be afraid of professionals. So if you teach a child, listen, don't be scared. If the dentist is doing something and you want to know what's he doing, ask. Don't sit there and be like, ask, why am I saying, what does this mean? How do I do this? Because then the child's able to know, how do I ask questions? How do I, build that relationship with these individuals? Very important skill, especially now where networking is basically a step up.
Yeah. So good. The next question is, what do you think the role of cryptocurrency will be in the post-COVID world?
Crypto, I'm not too sure. Hey, I really stay away from crypto. But I do know that cryptocurrencies will somehow form part of our everyday life, moving on into the future, because they do answer quite a lot. They do bring solutions to the table that we are facing, easier access to capital,
Yeah.
faster and easier transactions. They do have quite a lot of benefits, but just with regard to regulation as well, I think that if it could be regulated, and I know cryptocurrency, the first thing is no regulation, is it's poster, but everything has to be regulated, or else we are going to be living in a very shaky kind of place. So post COVID, I do think that digitization is going to be big, and it is now. We are starting to see that
Yeah.
digitization is big.
Yeah.
Banks are adopting it. Banks are taking over quite a lot of fintech companies. So I do see us moving in that direction in the future.
All right. Cool. What are some good resources for understanding how to do one's own taxes?
Oh, because taxes are quite a personal it's kind of like financial planning. It's not generic. There's no generic means to it. So I
Yeah.
would say that you could use the SARS website. They do have some really good content, but I do advise people to actually speak to a tax consultant, even if it's just one session, because it's not generic. So having one session with a tax consultant to have an overview of your tax situation could help you, because you'd be able to take tips and do it for yourself, because we do have e-filing, which is available. In order to understand e-filing and all the tax benefits that one has, speak to your tax consultant so you can make use of that.
Okay, awesome. And then the last one is medical aid versus hospital plan. What's
So both of them have advantages, both of them have disadvantages. It just goes as to what it is you require. But one thing that I've also noticed is that the kind of company that you work for, some of them make it compulsory for you to be part of a certain medical aid or a certain scheme. But just find out what kind of levels they have and which level works for you best, and always have comparisons, because it's all about what you need.
Yeah.
And medical aid is quite important. You do not want to be sitting in hospital and then you've got like 100,000 rand bill. That does happen. That does happen. So it just goes upon what would fit your needs.
Okay. And our final question is, what are 3 hashtag need to knows? So a few tips that you can leave us with in order to gain better control over our finances.
3 needs to know: get a pen and paper first and foremost, to do the budget. I know we have Excel and we have our phones and we have what, but when you use pen and paper, it really works on your psychology. It makes you connect to what you're doing far deeper, especially when it comes to drawing up your budget.
Yeah.
Second need to know is concentration risk, as I've spoken about. Please do not have all your eggs in one basket. If your friend tells you buy Tesla shares, Tesla's doing well, don't just take all your money and throw it there. Diversification is super important, and whoever comes to you and says put your eggs in this one basket, always question it, because diversification is the number one savior. It's kind of like a barrier with regard to risk. So that's super important. And the third thing is communicate with your partner about finances, because financial affairs do happen. There's no we are Jola for financial affairs, but it happens, guys. It does happen. Especially if you're planning on getting married, please do communicate finances. And I always say, just have, even if it's tiny, even if it's just about the groceries, even if it's just about, buying a house, just have get used to having that dialogue. Because one thing I've noticed is resentment does build up when finances aren't spoken of, because one person might feel they're giving too much and another might feel like they have no power or they are being controlled, and they have no freedom. So just have that communication, especially with your partner. It's really, really important. So those are my 3 to need to knows. I hope it fits. I hope it sticks.
Definitely does. There's something that you brought up, an extra question actually. So you brought up how people say, oh, invest in Tesla shares or whatever. So for people wanting to, I guess, start on platforms like Easy Equities, what type of tips, I'm not sure if you use Easy Equities, but like what type of tips do you have for people that want to start investing in shares, trading and investing? Yeah.
So I don't do trading in shares, and I'm not aware of Easy Equities, but I think that it will probably work like all the other platforms.
Yeah.
One thing I do like about shares and share trading, there's information. So there's fun fact sheets, and you also find quite a few information as well on the websites with regard to how the shares have performed. Although past performance is not a guarantee of future performance, it also gives you an idea as to what to expect with regard to those shares that you are buying. I really am not all for picking shares, buy this, buy that. I'm more of a fund manager type of person, so I would rather look at share portfolios, such as, for example, Allen Gray Balanced, or you could do Coronation Balanced, and how those funds are put together is the fund manager themselves selects shares for you and places them against a benchmark that will meet the expected return that you're looking for. So they do all the research, all the backhand work, and what you see in front of you is where it is that they are invested, how have they done, and you are able to also keep track of it in that way. Because picking shares, that takes a skill. People study to pick shares as to what's what, and there's no timing the market, guys. There's no timing it. You can't time the market. So rather leave it to the professionals.
I've been in one for these things. I'm like, I'm gonna invest. Let's do this, and I so flustered. I don't know where to begin, So I like what you say. Ask the right people the right questions. Ask the people that know, advise, communicate. And
trusted advisors are really important. I think people overlook it and they think, oh, because my friend's in it must be good. No, it's not about your friend. It's about your money. You've worked for this. How do you place what you've worked so hard for on someone else's story? Get involved, do your homework so that you are not caught at the backhand of a situation. I've seen a lot of people at the back end of situations because they said, no, my neighbor did this, it worked out for them. Yes, it worked out for them, but do you think it's going to work out for you? Take yourself seriously, value yourself. And that's why money and who we are so linked together. So just take care of yourself. And if you can take care and be diligent, you could, reap quite a lot because of those small steps that you've taken.
Love that. Love it. Thank you so much for your advice. Very, very valuable. Thank you for availing yourself, giving us your time. And thank you for the interview.
Thank you for actually inviting me to your platform. I really appreciate it. I appreciate it so much.
Awesome. I hope you have a good, productive, light-filled, love-filled day.
I will. You too. You have that on your side.
Okay, thank you. Bye-bye.
Hey there, gorgeous. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Becoming series. If you haven't already, please subscribe to our channel. Like, share, repost, and stay tuned. For more information on who we are, visit www.wearebecoming.co.za. You can also catch us on Instagram at becominginitiative_ and on Facebook at We Are Becoming. Keep queening.